Hey guys, how are you? My name is Jacqueline and I am the nutritionist here at CrossFit Spot. Welcome to the New You Challenge. I'm going to make a video to go over some of the supplementary material that you've been emailed. I'm going to run over that with you in video, try to do the best I can to explain it to you, and also hopefully answer a lot of the questions that you feel that you're going to have. One of the most important things to understand is that this is not a quick fix. So this is not an elimination diet, and this is not a quick fix that's going to make you lose a ton of weight in 6 weeks, then you're going to gain it all back. My main objective here is to teach you how to eat for a lifetime. Eating for a lifetime is going to do something that's going to keep your weight off of you and make it sustainable, and then also help you learn how to make educated choices when you're not in a program down the road. So I could sit here and say to you, here's what you're going to eat for every single meal. You're going to eat this chicken, you're going to eat that pasta, but then you'll never learn how to eat. So I do want you to put a little bit of effort into learning how to choose your own foods during this program. Not going to leave you out there blind, but I do expect you to do a little bit of work after I give you kind of the tools and the formulas to make it happen. Average weight loss that is healthy and sustainable, we know, is anywhere from a half a pound to 2 pounds a week. And this can vary. Some people change, and keep in mind that you just started a program where a lot of you just started to do weight training for the first time, or for the first time you're back at weight training. And when we start to do resistance training, we also put on muscle. And muscle weighs, obviously a pound of fat and a pound of muscle, they say muscle weighs more than fat. Well, a pound is a pound, but a pound of muscle is this big, and then a pound of fat is this big. So muscle is actually more dense. Sometimes during the programs, we find that people might not lose weight on the scale per se, but they will see their clothes fitting differently and their body fat changing. But a good rule of thumb is to say anywhere from 0.5 to 2 pounds a week. In the email that you were sent from Billy, there should be a few links to documents at the bottom. Number one is called Understanding Macros, and this is where I explain to you what macronutrients are. Macronutrients being fat, protein, and carbohydrates. And I'll go into that a little bit later into the video. The next is called Macros Calculated, and this is a spreadsheet that you're going to open up. I'm also going to go over this with you in detail, but that spreadsheet is going to be what decides or determines how many calories that you're going to have, also breaking it down into macronutrients. So I do all the legwork for you, telling you how many macros you need to eat in each meal throughout the day, and then from there you just fill in your food. The next one's a starter meal plan. Now this starter meal plan is just a sample plan. By no means do you actually have to follow it. I just wanted to give people an idea of some things that they could be eating for meals. Some people don't even know where to start. And these are things that I eat, so I'm not expecting you to eat the same things. If you like them, great. If you don't, feel free to change things in and out. Also in this plan, you'll see sometimes the meals will change day to day, or maybe a couple days you'll see the same things for a few meals. And that's because in reality, when we meal prep, we're actually going to cook food that's going to last us for a couple meals. I mean, if we were making new meals every single meal, we wouldn't have time for that. It's just not realistic. So in reality, we end up eating sometimes the same meals for a couple meals. So you'll see that in the plan. There's also how to use MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal is an application that can be found on your iPhone or on your Android, and I go into detail about how to use MyFitnessPal. There's a couple tweaks that we have to do when setting it up, and I'll go over that in detail a little bit later. And then I have some frequently asked questions. So I'll go over the frequently asked questions as well, but I just want to make sure that everybody sees these 5 documents: Understanding Macros, Macros Calculated, Starter Meal Plan, How to Use MyFitnessPal, and then frequently asked questions. So if you're at this point and you haven't seen those documents, it's a great time to go into that email from Billy, scroll down to the bottom, download those documents, and pull them up while you're watching the rest of this video. So I'll give you some time to do that. Hey guys, I just opened up the file here that says Understanding Macros. I'm just going to go over this with you really quickly. I think you should read it yourself and then listen to me talk about it a little bit before we go into the Excel spreadsheet. So macronutrients are comprised of protein, fats, and carbohydrates, and they provide our body with the daily functions to build muscle and for energy, and also for brain function. All of your food is made up of calories, and those calories are then broken down into macronutrients. So every single thing you eat has either protein, fat, or carbohydrates, or a combination of the 3. Now, for 1 gram of protein, there's 4 calories. For 1 gram of carbohydrate, there's 4 calories. But for 1 gram of fat, there's 9 calories. And that's why fat is the macronutrient that we kind of add to when we need to gain weight and pull out when we need to lose weight, because you actually get almost double the amount of carbohydrates for 1 gram of fat. So really quickly, also just an FYI, alcohol is also a macronutrient and it's 7 calories per gram. We don't consider that into our, we don't count that into our meal plans because we don't count alcohol because we shouldn't be drinking alcohol. However, if it is something that comes up, just keep in mind that alcohol is almost as caloric as fat. So protein. Protein is one of the most essential macronutrients. It's used for building muscle, preventing muscle loss. It's one of the macronutrients that your body does not store. So you'll see that I try to keep you at a constant level of protein throughout the day. Ideally, I want to make sure that every single one of your meals has the same amount of protein. Some examples of protein are going to be beef, poultry, eggs, as well as non-animal forms such as vegetables, soy, beans, there's quinoa, there's amaranth. They're both complete proteins. There's some vegetable proteins that are not complete proteins, and in that case, you have to combine them together. So those would be things such as beans and rice, broccoli or spinach. And if you're really a vegetarian or a vegan and you have some questions about that, get in touch with me and we'll talk a little bit more. Vegetarians have a lot easier because they can do dairy and eggs, which are both a complete protein. But vegans are going to have a little bit harder way to balance out their carbohydrates and protein, but it still can be done. So let's go into carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are your body's source of energy. They're broken down into simple and complex carbs, which means that one gets broken down faster than the other, and that's the simple carbohydrates. Those are candies, sugars, fruit juices, and then a complex carbohydrate is broken down slower, and it's used as a sustained source of energy. So that would be like quinoa, sweet potatoes, rice, oatmeal, pasta. After that, we have fats. Fats are critical for the body's function, as well as hair, skin, nails, muscles, and also for brain function. Fat does not make you fat if eaten correctly. It will help the rest of your body function correctly. However, like I mentioned before, fat can easily start to add up. So as long as we stay within the range of fat that's given to us on our sheet, we'll be fine and we will not gain fat. We need fat for hormonal function as well. So altogether, all these 3 macronutrients make up your daily caloric intake. So let me give you an example. If I had 190 grams of protein in one day, I would have 760 calories. If I had 190 grams of carbs, I would also have 760 calories because both of them have 4 grams. If I had 60 grams of fat, I would have 540 calories. And that would give me a total daily calories of 2,060 because I would add all 3 of these groups up. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of explanation into the different macronutrients. On the next sheet I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you some suggestions for foods in each group. On this PDF that you were given, you'll see suggested foods for each macronutrient group. Here I have listed the protein sources. I have meats, seafood, eggs, dairy, and protein powders. As you'll see, 1 ounce of a lean meat equals 6 grams of protein. And we'll come back to this in a little bit because that's going to be a really important number for you to know based upon how many grams of protein you're supposed to have in your day. As long as you can remember that 1 ounce is 6 grams of protein, it's going to help you a lot in the future. For seafood, you actually get a little bit more protein per ounce, so it's going to be 1.25 grams for 1 ounce of protein. And then here's the listing for eggs, for dairy, and then protein powder is usually about what it says on the bottle or on the container. So next we have carbohydrate sources. Now keep in mind this list is not limited to just the foods in here. So if you have any other foods that you like to eat, something that's maybe cultural to you, please get in touch with me and let me know, and I'll be more than happy to let you know where that would fit within these macronutrients. I don't want you to have to change your diet completely. I want you to really try to eat the foods that you normally eat within reason. But if it's something that's cultural, something that you've been eating for your whole life, we really want to try and keep that in here because we don't want to send you out into a whole new world with a diet that makes absolutely no sense to you and your taste buds don't even like. So back to this, carbohydrate sources. So complex carbohydrates, which are the ones that take longer to break down, are listed here. And these are some that I suggest that you have. Now, can you eat pasta? Yes, absolutely. The difference is, and you're going to see when you look on the box at the carbohydrate intake, that you're going to get a lot less pasta than you are, say, quinoa. So maybe you'll get a cup of quinoa, but you're only going to get about a half a cup of pasta, and it's going to be the same amount of carbohydrates. So that's why people tend to stay away from pastas. It doesn't mean that you can't eat it. If you love pasta, go for it. But
we try to eat the most voluminous food possible. That means you get the most food on your plate, hitting your macronutrients as possible, so it keeps you full the longest. Then we have our simple carbohydrates that are down here. These are going to be fruits, fruit juices, berries. I always suggest berries because they're higher in antioxidants and lower in carbohydrates. You can get a whole cup of berries for about the same amount of carbohydrates that you can get like an apple or an orange. I really don't want to tell you to avoid or stay away from any fruits, but when it comes to mangoes and pineapples and even bananas, they're really high in sugar. So you're going to get a lot less of that fruit for the same amount of carbohydrates as you would something else. So that goes back to the volume idea. Now we're going to go down to fat sources. Fat sources that are healthy fats are nuts, nut butters. I suggest that you do something that's no salt and no added ingredients, so none of the funky foo-foo brands that have tons of sugar added into it. Oils, so you can do olive oil, coconut oil, flaxseed oil. Ideally, it would be cold because when we cook the oil, it does change the chemical makeup a little bit, but I'm not saying that you can't cook the oil. And then avocados are another great source. There are other fat sources. If you are doing some dairy and you're somebody who needs to add fats to your day, you can consider some of the dairy into your fats. Here's our greens. Now, I want you to have greens in about 1 to 2 cups, at least 2 to 3 meals a day. So you can have it every meal if you'd like, but I want you to at least get in 2 meals of your day that you have 1 to 2 cups of greens. If you're going to be doing carrots, corn, beets, or peas, please measure those vegetables and make sure that it's only 1 cup because those do add up a little bit more than the other ones. The other vegetables have a lot of fiber in them, so the fiber calories don't count. Your body cannot digest them. So at the end of the day, you can get a lot more bang for your buck with these vegetables over the ones down here. And then I have some condiments listed. So balsamic vinegar, lemon juice, honey. I said except mustard. I said except honey or Dijon, but you can do a little bit of honey mustard. You just have to check it out, check out what's on the label, and count that into your food for the day. Salsa is great. I cook a lot with that. Himalayan sea salt, spices, and then of course here we have our water. Water is going to be really important. It's needed for every single bodily function. So I recommend that you take your body weight, you multiply it by 0.8, and that's going to be your daily water intake. You're also going to want to add 8 ounces for every 30 minutes of exercise. Below here is going to be some frequently asked questions. Let me move this out of the way. So these frequently asked questions I would just go through on your own. Hopefully they'll answer some questions that you have. If there's anything in here that's confusing, feel free to send me an email. But while we're on that, I want to remind you to join our Facebook group, and we're going to send around an email with a link to that group. That Facebook group is going to give you tons and tons of information. People are really interactive in there. We're going to share recipes, ideas, foods that we come up with, encourage teammates. There's really a lot that comes through that Facebook group, so I highly recommend that you join that Facebook group as soon as possible and become as active as you can as well. All right, so I'm going to open up the next document, and this is going to be your macros calculated. So I'll give you a minute to get that document open, or you can pause me for a second here and open up that document. So in this document, there's only one thing we have to do, and that is change what is in the yellow box. And that's going to be my weight. I weigh 160 pounds. So I'm going to have 1,760 calories a day. That's broken down into 40% carbs, 30% protein, 30% fat. I have that broken down into the grams per day and then into the grams per meal throughout your day. This is based on 5 equal meals per day. The reason that we do 5 equal meals per day is because that's the easiest way to start a nutrition plan. Actually, a lot of people that have been doing nutrition for a long time keep their meals pretty equal. But I broke it down into 5 meals per day. Now, don't think, oh my God, I have to eat all this food, 5 meals. Technically, you can call it 3 meals and 2 snacks if that's what makes you happy, because in my case, it's 352 calories. Well, I have this one protein bar that I love, and that's 280 calories. So right there, it knocks out most of that meal. So, you can either make it into a meal or you can have it as a snack. All right, so let's go back down to this. So we have 176 grams per day of carbs, 132 protein, and 59 grams of fat. Now, per meal, that means that I get 35 carbs, 26 grams of protein, and 12 grams of fat. So what I do with that is, now I know from the top of my head, because I told you before, there's 6 ounces of protein, or 6 grams of protein per ounce. So I know right there that I need 4 ounces of protein. Now, off the top of my head, I can tell you that I would probably have a cup of quinoa with 4 ounces of chicken and a half of avocado. That's because I know it really quickly and fast. But you're going to take the time to learn how to fit your foods into this. And the best way to do that is going to be using MyFitnessPal. Before we go on to MyFitnessPal, let's talk about what this is down here. This is just suggested times. This is just so that you can see times. You do not have to eat by these times. Some people wake up at 4 in the morning. Some people wake up at 11 o'clock in the afternoon. Some people might work night times. I don't know when you work. I'm just giving you an example here. Try to eat every 3 to 4 hours, and the last meal should be 1 hour before bed. So this is not written in stone. This is just an example for you to go off of. All right, so now we have all these crazy numbers. What do we do with them? How do we even know how to make those numbers up? Well, the best way to keep track of your daily caloric intake is by using an app such as MyFitnessPal. You could simply divide up into the meals you eat per day, and as I suggested, there would be 5 meals, including a protein shake as one of those meals. When you sign up for MyFitnessPal, you do not need a paid subscription. Once you have an account, you have to go and log in from your computer. So let me do this. You will go to myfitnesspal.com. You cannot do this off of your app. So you must go to your computer, log on in, and you're going to go to Home, Goals, and you're going to change your goals here. And you're going to base that upon the sheet that I had given you. So let's edit this. Edit. Now, based upon the sheet that we had before, sorry, give me 1 second. Here it is, right? So based upon this, I'm having 1,760 calories a day. I cannot set by grams right here because that isn't upgraded, but I can almost get to that. So what do I know? I know that per day, I need 176 grams. And it already tells me over here that it's 40%. So let's see what happens if I go to 40%. So I go to 40%, I'm going to go to 30% fat. I'm going to go to 40% protein. And look at that. It is, 30% protein. It is pretty close to these numbers. It is exactly these numbers. So you have to go into that, change that, and you just want to save your changes. Now, the next thing that you need to do when you're in here is you need to go to, let me pull it up, to profile, settings. You need to go to diary settings. And here it says calorie adjustments. Now, when you come to this page when you first sign up, that's going to be checked. You want to uncheck this box because this is going to eliminate MyFitnessPal from adding calories to your day based upon your movement. If you do not uncheck that, it's going to add in your movement and your exercise and whatever your iPhone picks up that you're doing. Now, there's a small percentage of people, about 10% of people, who will not even see this on their screen. We do not know why. I don't know if it's a browser. I've asked MyFitnessPal. We've gone through it with plenty of people. Nobody knows why, but some people do not have this on their screen. And if you don't, there's nothing we can really do about it. You're just one of those people. It doesn't have it on your screen. So just make sure that this is unchecked, and you will save it at the bottom, and you'll be on your way. So then you can go into MyFitnessPal on your app, and you could start entering in food. So let me just give you an example. For today, add food. Now it has all the stuff that I usually eat here, but I actually put a lot of my recipes that I make pretty often in here already. So I had my oatmeal this morning. So where's my oatmeal? Slow cooker oatmeal, 1 serving. And then so I'll add checked. It's a lot easier on your app than it is on your phone. but I just want to show you. I also had egg whites. I know that's got to be in here because I eat that all the time. And I had peanut butter on that because I eat that all the time too. So let's see where that is on here. I only had one. I had half of that actually, 0.5. So I'll add that. So now I already know that my first meal I had 373 calories, 42 carbs, 11 grams of fat, and 25 grams of protein. Now, if I go back to my sheet, each meal I'm supposed to have about 35 carbs, 26 grams of protein, so that's on point, and my fat's on point. So I went over by my carbs a little bit. It's about 6 grams. Not the end of the world. I can make up for that a little bit later. I'll probably have a lower carb meal, but I did work out this morning. It was important that I had a really big breakfast before I did my CrossFit. So that is how to work my Fitness Pal. Hopefully that explains it a little bit better for you. And it will really help you keep track of the foods that you're eating until you learn how to do it on your own. The last document we have here is your sample meal plan. This meal plan, listen carefully when I say this meal plan is a plan of the foods that I would eat, that I just wanted to give you an example of some foods so that you had some idea where to start. This does not mean you have to eat any of this food. If you like it, sure, eat it. If you don't like it, you do not have to eat this food. You can substitute out all the carbs, protein, and fat. But I wanted to give you guys a pretty good example of what a typical day or week looks like. Now, I did not do portion sizes here because everybody's eating different portion sizes, so you'll have to figure that out on your own based upon that spreadsheet. Another thing you want to keep in mind here is that I kind of change the meals throughout the day just to give you as many meal variations as possible. But as I mentioned in the introduction, I'm probably going to have turkey meatballs for these meals here. And in reality, I'm going to have them tomorrow too. There's no way that I'm actually making these 4 meals. I'm going to have the same food for Monday and Tuesday, or Sunday and Monday, and probably Tuesday, to be honest with you, for these meals. I put snack here instead of another meal just so you can see that it's the same exact thing. We're just calling it a snack. So here's an idea of different things that you can eat. Like I said, you can change things out, you can substitute them, but the most important thing here is that you stick to your portion sizes. We can eat the healthiest foods in the world, but if we don't measure our foods and do proper portion sizes, then we're still going to gain weight or we're not going to lose it. So it's really, really important at this stage in the game that we measure all of our food.